So I really shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Having a free and open media is a necessity in a democracy because the media is supposed to serve as a mechanism of accountability and actually hold our elected officials accountable. But according to John Podesta's emails released by WikiLeaks, we found out that many journalists within multiple journalistic outlets are actually in cahoots with Hillary Clinton's campaign and are producing pro-Clinton propaganda at their behest. Now, so far, so-called journalists from 7 different news outlets are working with Hillary Clinton's campaign or have worked with her campaign to produce pro-Clinton propaganda. Now, just to be clear here, this doesn't necessarily mean that the journalism outlet as a whole is tarnished. It just means that several individuals within that outlet are bad apples and do not have any integrity. So now this includes the New York Times, The Hill, ThinkProgress, The Today Show, CNN, ABC, and the Daily Beast. And let me just remind you that this excludes outlets like Politico, whose journalists were revealed to be in cahoots with Clinton's campaign with the last release of WikiLeaks emails in July, when they released the internal DNC emails. Now, there are multiple instances of collusion between journalists and Hillary Clinton's campaign. So first of all, CNN hosted a town hall featuring Hillary Clinton, and then CNN contributor, now DNC interim chair Donna Brazile, actually gave the Clinton campaign an advance notice of a question that they were going to ask. So Politico explains, Democratic National Committee interim chair Donna Brazile sent information to a top Clinton campaign official about an upcoming question she got in advance, one day before a very similar question was asked at a CNN town hall, according to hacked emails published by WikiLeaks. On March 12th, Brazile, who at the time was DNC vice chair and a CNN and ABC contributor, wrote Clinton communications director Jennifer Palmieri an email that said, quote, "From time to time, I get questions in advance. Here's one that worries me about Hillary Rodham Clinton," Brazile wrote. Death penalty. 19 states and the District of Columbia have banned the death penalty. 31 states, including Ohio, still have the death penalty. According to the National Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty, since 1973, 156 people have been on death row and later set free. Since 1976, 1,414 people have been executed in the U.S. That's 11% of Americans who were sentenced to die, but later exonerated and freed. Should Ohio and the 30 other states join the current list and abolish the death penalty? Now, I'm going to show you the actual setup to the question that really was asked to Hillary Clinton during the CNN town hall, and then try to keep those statistics in mind.
Secretary Clinton, since 1976, we've executed 1,414 people in this country. Since 1973, 156 who were convicted have been exonerated from the death row. This gentleman here is one of them.
So I'll let you be the judge there, but know this. Donna Brazile, as well as CNN, are denying that they did this in spite of very clear similarities between what Donna Brazile sent to Clinton's campaign and the actual setup to the question that was asked to Hillary Clinton. And even if it's the case that this wasn't the exact question, you still told them that there was going to be a question about the death penalty. That's still troubling, but nonetheless, Brazile, however, is denying that she notified the Clinton campaign of a proposed question. Quote, "As a longtime political activist with deep ties to our party, I supported all of our candidates for president." Yeah, right. "I often shared my thoughts with each and every campaign, and any suggestions that indicate otherwise are simply untrue. As it pertains to the CNN debates, I never had access to questions and would never have shared them with the candidates if I did," Brazile said in a statement. And when it comes to the New York Times and how they've been colluding with Clinton's campaign, Observer explains, "Another email discusses planting a favorable Clinton story in the New York Times in March of 2015. NYT heroine, should she call her today?" Podesta wrote to other Clinton campaign staffers with the subject line, "Laura Donahue, I do think it's a great idea. We can make it happen," replied Uma Abedin. The story they referred to is likely in New Hampshire, Clinton backers buckle up, published in the New York Times on March 12, 2015, about Laura Donahue, a retired nurse and Clinton supporter in New Hampshire. John Harwood, New York Times contributor and CNBC correspondent, regularly exchanged emails with Podesta, communicating more as a Clinton surrogate than a journalist. Now, the emails reveal that Clinton's team actually pitched stories to to the Daily Beast when they were trying to demonize Bernie Sanders after Hillary Clinton was taking a lot of heat for her support of the 1994 crime bill. So they were trying to make him look bad and wanted to talk about Vermont's incarceration rate to do so. So they worked with the Daily Beast for this. As one email states, this was part of the Daily Beast story that we worked around aggressively, so I think it's been pitched, but they may have other ideas of where to go with this. Now, let me just be fair here. We don't have the full context, but this does nonetheless look suspicious. And if you think that this is suspicious, you should be suspicious, particularly about the Daily Beast, because their parent company is IAC. Guess who sits on the board of IAC? Chelsea Clinton. So I don't know that they're necessarily taking orders from Chelsea Clinton, but we know that the Clintons' campaign has a direct link to the Daily Beast. So yes, we should be very suspicious of them. Now, the Today Show told Hillary Clinton's campaign spokesman, Brian Fallon, that they would be asking Clinton about guns before an interview, because Fallon wrote in one email, the Today Show has indicated they definitely plan to ask about guns. So very clear here. Again, we don't have the full context, but we see a news organization, a so-called news organization, telling the Clinton campaign ahead of time what they're going to be asking her about. How do you expect to hold politicians accountable and get an honest and organic answer if you're telling them ahead of time what they're going to be asking? Now, a ThinkProgress editor named Judd Legum was in cahoots with Clinton's campaign as well, and he sent John Podesta an email where he implied Bernie Sanders is sexist. So Legum quoted Bernie Sanders talking about Killer Mike, and Bernie Sanders said, quote, I don't go around. No one has ever heard me say, hey guys, let's stand together. Vote for a man. I would never do that. Never have. And Legum's response was, needless to say, he doesn't say that because he doesn't have to. And Clinton's campaign responded with, yes, we are on it. So he's implying here that Bernie Sanders is sexist. All of Bernie Sanders' white straight male base, apparently, they're going to do that anyway. They're voting for the man regardless. So Bernie Sanders doesn't even have to say it. Very interesting. Now, Brent Badowski, who is a columnist for The Hill, essentially asked Podesta for permission to post an article because he didn't want to cause any problems for Clinton. Quote, by the way, I may be doing an Elizabeth Warren column soon. If I write that my optimum scenario would be for Elizabeth to ultimately give a big endorsement to HRC and give the keynote speech at the convention totally off the record, would that give you a problem? It would be my personal opinion only, but if you have a problem with my suggesting this as an idea, I won't tell anyone and I won't include it, deferring to you. And John Podesta responded with, no problem. Now, Badowski also warned Podesta about other stories that he would be publishing. So in an email with the subject line, after you read my column in The Hill tomorrow, he states, I expect to be named the next U.S. ambassador to France. Just kidding. I don't want anything that's part of my charm, but it is good. Working title is Big Truths About Hillary, though still negotiating 5 points with editors. A very strong statement on her behalf. I have a line about her praising the Pope and about refugees and immigration that will be memorable. So funny here. He wants to be the ambassador. He's totally just kidding, guys. Actually, he's not kidding. He does want something. It's called access, and he's getting that right now. But again, I shouldn't have to reiterate why this is problematic. A free and independent media, separate from the campaigns of candidates who want to be the most powerful politician in the country, I mean, that connection shouldn't be there. This is common sense, but yet we have it going on in a so-called democracy. Again, if people called you a conspiracy theorist because you thought that Hillary Clinton had biased coverage during the primary and that she has biased coverage now, you can take off your tinfoil hat. There's evidence for this right here. And if anyone tells you otherwise or tries to suggest that you're conspiratorial, then you can tell them it's right in the emails. Check them out for themselves.